All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is a regular meeting of the Town Council, the Township of Montclair. It's being broadcast live on Channel 34 and is streaming live on the Montclair TV 34 YouTube channel. It's available on demand and will be rebroadcast. This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. This meeting was included in the annual notice of the meeting schedule as set forth in Resolution R-22-245, adopted by the Council at its regular meeting, December 20th, 22, advertised in the official newspaper, December 29th, 2022, and January 5th, 2023, posted on the bulletin boards outside the municipal building, and has remained continuously posted there. In addition, a copy of this annual notice is available to the public and is on file in the office of the Township Clerk. With that, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk.
Counselor Cummings?
Present.
Deputy Mayor Herlock?
Present.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Present.
Counselor Russo?
Present.
Counselor Schlager? Absent. Counselor Terry?
Present.
Mayor Spiller?
Present. Thank you. All right. Moving through, we'll go to public comment. All speakers must sign in next to the clerk for speaking. And again, for this, we'll allow for 3 minutes, and we'll open up to public comment. Motion to speak.
Okay. My name is Wade Wren. I am the founder and currently vice president of MESH, with which you're very familiar, I'm sure. And happy to be here, and I'm here to thank the council for their continuing support of our respite program, and also to give thanks for your having serious consideration of our request for an increase in funding and in the new budget. And I especially want to publicly I want to give thanks not just to the council but to the community of Montclair itself, because I have become very aware. I've lived here for 26 years, and I've become very familiar with the hospitality and generosity of this community, which makes me proud to be living here. And it's something I think we're all aware of. And I became aware of this wonderful trait, characteristic of Montclair, when I realized the need for sheltering the homeless population here in Montclair. And I did so back over 20 years ago, and began a shelter program first of all at Central Presbyterian Church, and then also at St. John's Episcopal Church. In doing so, we opened the shelter every night. It didn't matter temperature. Every night we were open during the winter. And because I realized that it was 40 degrees, and if I'm cold, they're cold. And so we were open, and when what we were doing became known through the Montclair Times back in those days, people's generosity was overwhelming, and enabled us to fund the respite. Now we call it a respite, but the shelter, and we did so. I was able to do so with the help of Hope Crawley. You all know Hope Crawley? God rest her soul. She is the mother of Ann Mernon, and wonderful woman, who is very dedicated to caring for those less fortunate than herself. So I'm here to thank you, and also to let you know that we at MESH, we are really hoping to restore the respite program as originally established. That is every night, not by code blue limitation to 32 degrees, because you can imagine the homeless people right now are walking on our streets looking for shelter from the rain and for the cold. And every night would be best for them. So I'm here to make an appeal, support the appeal for increased funding for several reasons, one of which is the cost of providing respite or shelter.
Well, we thank you. That was your time a little while ago, so we just, if you could finish up your comments, we appreciate it, and thank you so much, and we'll certainly be considering that as well.
2 minutes is up.
Okay, well, I want to thank you and hope that you will indeed take it into serious consideration as we want to increase our program, and I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving.
You as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Annette Batson. I think you guys all know me. He did the preamble of everything I want to say. Wade is amazing. I'm here for MESH. I've been a resident of Montclair since 2004. I've been cooking and serving MESH guests who are food insecure and home insecure for the past 20 years through my church, St. John's. I recently went to one of their fundraisers and found out that they are in dire need of additional housing. I'm here to thank you for the support you've given MESH Respite, which is giving them a place to sleep when they don't have a place to sleep in horrible weather and cold. These people are, young people, old people, children, parents, single people. They all need to get back on their feet, and you can't do that if you're scared at night because you don't have a place to stay, or you're freezing, or you don't know where your next meal is coming from. I love Montclair because of its vibe, its diversity, its social justice forward. This is something we should do. We're asking you for more money so we can extend more nights of care to these people who, and it gives us as a town an opportunity to show our humanity, to put our money where our mouth is, and do what we profess to do: diversity, inclusion, and caring for our community. So thank you very much. I just hope you will consider the giving extra funds out of the budget this year for a really worthy cause. We live in a land of abundance, so let's give it out and give thanks, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm the third person from MESH, so you may get a little sick of hearing from us, but I'll be very quick. My name is Janet Link, and my husband and I and our family have lived in Montclair for 30 years, and I too go to St. John's, and I have been participating in the MESH, program for close to 20 years. I'm not sure exactly how long. Cooking, but basically not providing respite, but what I've noticed recently since the pandemic, the community of people who come for food and I know for shelter has grown. And I've also noticed a change in the demographic of the people who come, because I've noticed more young mothers with children coming. And these people are desperate, even though the economy is improving for a lot of us, it's not improving for them. And it's sorrowful, and it touches me, and I feel that the shelter is an issue that if we can do that, it would be a wonderful thing. I don't know how much it costs exactly, but if some more funds could be given for shelter. We're taking care of the food from our personal finance wherever we go, my friends and I from St. John's and other places, and we make sure down at the office the first Friday of every month, these folks can count on us to be there to give them a good food. Annette made a turkey dinner last time. It's fabulous for them before Thanksgiving. We do things, we make chili, we make meatballs, we try to make it, they really, really love this. It's good for them. And I think the respite is so important. And especially, I know in the summer it is a little different, but I'm sorry, but especially when the cold comes. If these folks can know they have some place to go, it would be really, and I think it's true that we all have so much abundance, and I feel strongly that we should be sharing it with the people who don't have as much as we do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I just want to ask a question.
Yes.
Thank you for everything. You're looking up here, ma'am.
Wait, oh, sorry. Yeah, oh, the good-looking guy. Yes.
The old guy.
Well,
Now,
I'm the old gal.
we did discuss this last week. I just want to get this clear with the manager, maybe. Didn't we have on the agenda several mesh resolutions last week? Right. So I'm just trying to get it clear. I'm always advocating more money. I was told the county's going to be helping more. There's more help from the county. So what exactly are you asking for? Because I'm always advocating it go from whatever 35,000 we've always given to 50. I've always advocated this at every budget year.
I wasn't
Now
aware. I was coming just to represent MESH, and my side of MESH is food provision. you know,
Right.
for people, but I understand that they were seeking, I don't know what's
So,
approved,
let
but
me-
they were seeking more money for shelter.
Yeah, so
Respite.
I
Go
talked to Albie and their finance group and asked them to come up with a budget and a number that they feel that they can expect from the township. However, what I told them was, we provided them the 35,000 this year up front. Normally, we would split the funds 75. And the other part is that the county has now offered up to $40,000 that they can get through us for their overnight respite. This is a request that they're trying to do where they want to increase it to every day and not just on code blue when it's deemed 32 degrees or below. And so with that, I explained to them that's a significant change, and what we would need from you all is some type of number that makes sense that we can justify if we can afford it. But it's because that's a lot different than what they've done in the past. So they need to come to us and provide us a rationale, which is going from, say, 40 days to 150 days. I mean, they would like to do 365. So it's a conversation that we need to have in terms of budgetary numbers of how we can afford to increase and what that number would be that makes sense.
And you can't answer what Ms. Councilman Cummings is asking, right? You can't answer that.
What is the question?
Well, it was a question what the number is that you need.
No, I was going to ask you, who needs to come to you?
Well, I discussed this with Albie and your treasurer.
Okay.
Right,
So
we had this discussion.
Okay.
Right, but it's, like I told them, going from 32 below code blue days to every day is a
It's huge.
significant increase,
It is.
and therefore, you got to show us what would be a number that would be,
Okay, and he knows that?
yes.
Okay, so are you does he have a deadline to respond to you, or where does this letter?
So after the meeting the other day, I told them we're going to talk again, and so Albie meets with a group that I also work with for this we meet the fourth Monday of every month.
Okay.
So we'll meet again in December, because this month is being Thanksgiving, and these discussions will be had then.
Okay.
But it's not something that's going to happen in the next 2 weeks, because there's a significant change of what you're talking about.
It's just that I felt, when I heard that, the group, when I first started volunteering for MESH many years ago, and when I heard the temperature thing, I thought, how can people, could you sleep, I couldn't sleep outside 32 degrees, so sounds like there's progress here, and that's really wonderful.
We all support whatever you do. I just want to get clear, because I made motions in the past to increase the 35 to 50, but
Right.
that's not really the overall figure that's needed. So there may be more money from the county representative is here. So we want to help you in any way we can.
Okay.
And let Councilman Cummings work with the staff on
Right.
this, okay?
Well, that's excellent, thank you all so much, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Rourke. Changing gears for a second, pun intended. My son rides the bike bus to Bullock. These kids are so cute. They are singing the songs they learn in chorus as they go, ringing their bells, discussing their Halloween costumes. This is peak childhood, and it is such a joy to see. They're empowered, they're proud, they're tired at the end of the day. But when kids first join the bike bus, they're kind of surprised by how far they can ride, because the sad truth is they're generally not riding through the streets of Montclair. And as a parent, I know why. It doesn't feel safe. The bike bus has enabled our children to have this experience. They've made it safe enough with volunteers, vests, signs, education. 183 children rode to school on October 27th. But we aren't done. I still hear about regular car crashes. My 9-year-old knows that when he presses the button to cross Grove, he can expect 2 cars to keep going and 1 car to go around the cars that have stopped. I want our kids to feel the safety and the joy that they feel on the bike bus every single day, everywhere in Montclair. But the best policy is proactive, not reactive. So I want to thank you for asking the county to lower the speed limits. A person is 70% more likely to be killed if they are struck by a vehicle traveling at 30 miles per hour versus 25 miles per hour. That's insane. And I would love if you guys could provide an update on that. We also need drivers to listen. People need to know that they're held accountable for their driving and also their parking. I know that's a big issue in Montclair. Be it patrolling or cameras, people's behavior changes when they are held accountable. Even when people are trying, humans make mistakes. It doesn't matter if they're walking, driving, or biking. This is not a moral failing. It's inevitable. We need traffic calming infrastructure to guide us. Narrower roads, bike lanes, raised crosswalks, bump outs. If you've ever driven, you know how much the environment impacts you. I know the Vision Zero task force is working on recommendations, and I really hope you consider them carefully. I've worked for 10 years as a policy analyst in state and local government, and I have seen many task force and advisory groups formed and then watched their recommendations be placed in a drawer to gather dust. Sometimes the recommendations are waved aside because they're too expensive, they're unpopular, or they're too difficult. But actually, fairly often, recommendations are just not brought into the decision-making process. People get too busy to read reports, budgets are tweaked annually, but they remain largely the same, and maintenance goes on as usual. And we miss opportunities. We get busy, time passes.
Speaking of time passing.
Can I just make 2 requests? Are there opportunities we're missing in the recurbing and repaving that's currently underway? And can you carve out money in the budget to actually fund the Vision Zero's
Thank you.
recommendations?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just so you know that the status is, we've all lobbied the county. We have to send them the request, but they have to be lobbied to get it done. County representative is here, and sure he'll take back to them our concern. But it's a political government decision has to be made. We think the county's going to go along with what we're requesting, 20 miles and 25. I'm going to push for 15 at schools eventually. But these are all things we're working on. So thank you for coming and asking us the status. Yes. Copies? Thank you.
Hi there, my name's Drury Thorpe. I live at 21 Macapin. I'm a teacher in town, one of the co-founders of the Montclair Bike Bus, and I couldn't be happier. I mean, I was sitting in the audience the last time we were all here and listening to the discussion that was happening and how you all were being proactive and asking the county to make some changes. So I really applaud each and every one of you for doing that. I thank you. I'm glad to hear that this is moving forward. And I'd like to see it also move forward on our town roads. And what you're looking at right now, we know that speed is the #1 culprit in pedestrian and cyclist fatalities. And that graphic that you're looking at kind of hammers down the fact that just 5 miles per hour can make a huge difference. So according to the National Transportation Safety Board, if hit by a car traveling 20 miles per hour, 5% of people will die. That number jumps to 45% when you just go up to 30 miles per hour. And then at 40 miles per hour, we're talking about 85% death rate. That's a huge deal. So bike bus, what our position is we are asking you all to consider a 20 mile per hour speed limit in town with 15 that is in the school zones. And this is all supported by data that's out there. We also know that this is not going to come without dedicating money. We need you to allocate specific dollars into school safety, well, I guess it's not school safety because that would be BOE, but into our safety budget, our community policing. We need you to actually put dollars towards Vision Zero Task Force to make it go beyond funding the coordinator for 6 months and actually putting money towards demonstrations that we can put around town, things like artificial kind of bump outs and curb extensions, those things to get people kind of used to driving. When my husband and I were driving over here today, I said, what roads do you slow down on? And he said, Norwood. And I said, why? And he said, because it's curvy. And that's absolutely true. That's a traffic calming measure, right? Make the roads a little bit more curvy. And you can do that. Park Street would be a perfect example of just having some bump outs to make you actually have to go around some curves. Another street that I thought of is South Park Street. I automatically go down to like a snail's pace when I hit South Park at Bloomfield Avenue, between Bloomfield Avenue and I guess, what is it, Church Street, definitely. And you're forced to slow down there. So there are things that we can do that do not cost a lot of money. There's paving, I'm sure, that's already slated, ready to go, recurbing, repaving. Before those projects get underway, can we look at doing some of these bump outs, curb extensions, chicanes, just get it going already. That's it. I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, but easy, like low-hanging fruit that's not expensive.
So, thank you. And as you know, as we moved last week and we're doing again this week, we're lowering everything down. Let's start with 25. We're getting done, right? I'll also note that, and especially with our county representative here, sometimes things that seem easy are not as easy as you think. For example, every time the township does a bump out on a street, the county has rules that say they no longer take care of the snow plowing, right? And they make the town take on that responsibility even on county roads when we add bump outs, right? So those are conversations we have to have. If you support the work of the Vision Zero Task Force at the county level, will you continue to plow those streets even if we do add bump out? So it's just a little more
Oh my
of a
gosh, you should see the
conversation.
most amazing machines that they now have for doing exactly that. Snow removal machines that are amazing for these small areas.
Great stuff. So we just have to make sure we get all of those,
I know
pieces
it's
in
not
place.
simple.
So
I know it's not simple.
But we will
But it's
continue
worth
to, couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
I think the world
All right.
coming to town.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you. Yep, thanks.
If I could add, Mr. Mayor, just real quickly, we've been doing this throughout the town for a number of years. We need to do more of it, quite frankly. Kim Kraft, the former township engineer, worked very closely with me on Jerome Place, which was a real problem when I first became elected. And what we did, which was very clever, and I give Ms. Kraft the credit, not me, is we took Jerome Place and we actually created what I would call a slalom. We made parking on one side above the tracks, parking on the other side below the tracks, and it caused the yellow line to be a curve, like you're saying, and it worked perfectly, and it slowed down. We didn't, knock on wood, we didn't have any more problems after that. So there's things we've been doing, and we need to do more of it, but we can be creative, like you just said, and that costs nothing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, one other comment. Ma'am, just one other comment. The gentleman sitting right there, his sister is an expert in the state of New Jersey on traffic and all the signage and everything that has to go on. She's an engineer. Spoke to my class at Montclair State last week about this. So I want you to talk to Ilmar, but what they came up with was ideas. Bump outs are one thing, then there's speed bumps and speed humps. They're two different things. So our students were learning about all the ways to calm traffic, and what Mr. Scott Ketty, I hope you know him, has been putting a recommendation for all these different things. But we got to get very clear what can be done and what can't, according to state regulations, the kind of signage. For example, Montclair State has 15-mile signs all over campus, but that's on campus. They have a right to do on campus. We have to really get permission to do something, and we're going to have to work on getting it down. So I support your idea of 20 and 15. Right now, we're going to 25 and 20, so it's progress.
And
But-
that's on not just county, you as a town, we as a town are doing that tonight, like I didn't see.
We as a
anything.
town are doing that tonight,
Perfect.
and we're making the request of the county, for the county. council.
Thank you, but just see Ilmar right there.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody, council, mayor. My name is Deborah Kagan. I live at 66 Beverly Road in Montclair. Been a Montclair resident for 30 years. I'm the executive director of the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition, a long-term member of Bike and Walk Montclair, and currently and excited to be a new member of the Vision Zero Task Force in town. By the way, that curvy thing is called a chicane. And
Thank you, I appreciate that. I like curvy thing, though, but.
And curvy things. I'm okay with calling it anything as long as we do one. So, first of all, I want to thank the council for passing the resolution to create the Vision Zero Task Force. I think this is a great step forward, and I'm very excited about this initiative. And also for the first reading and this intent to do 25 miles an hour across the town. I am aware of the difficulties sometimes with county and municipal around these speed limits. I was on the pedestrian advisory committee maybe 5-6 years ago when we brought up the first resolution to slow Grove Street down to 30 miles an hour. That took at least a year before there were signs up, and we asked for a painted, low-cost, low-hanging fruit medium to narrow the lanes on Grove Street at that time. That was not accepted by the county at the time. I live 2 houses away from Grove Street. I cannot tell you how many times I have witnessed near misses, how myself I have witnessed near misses, my neighbor across the street who has been injured on Grove Street. Grove Street is a heavily residential corridor. Now, I know that the county will want an engineering study for this, and I just want to bring up that this is an opportunity for this council and the town to take leadership. The county, Essex County, has gotten grant funding to also do, by the way, and I helped them to know about this, to get grant funding from the feds for something called SS4A to create a Vision Zero task force. They have to create a Vision Zero task force. They are aware of the changes that need to be made. This is an opportunity for us, and I'm asking for leadership and bold action from the council in negotiations with the county, understanding that they are going to want engineering studies. We cannot continue to do the same thing and expect the changes to be made that we are talking about for reducing fatalities, for reducing serious injuries, for making it safer, for all the reasons that the bike bus people talked about for our children on the streets. If we don't change the way we are doing things, we will not get a different outcome. So I'm proposing a strong position for the county and also across the town. We need to do awareness and
Thank you.
signs for 25.
Thank you. And we look forward to you helping us with that strong voice to the county. So, yes, I know you are, so we always are. Thank you.
You know the county representative there, don't you? You know the county representative there? Do you know who this is? What? Government has to work together.
Good evening. My name's Sarah Avery, and I've been a resident for over 37 years. The township's 2022 audit was required to be filed with the state no later than September 30th. As of November 15th, I became aware that the audit was not yet filed and now delinquent due to the June 6th cyber attack. The township paid a $450,000 ransom for return of files, but there are no resolutions that reflect that the topic was discussed or that the payment of the ransom was voted and agreed upon. Allowing the town manager to make a unilateral decision with the insurance company with no oversight is a weakness in internal control. How was PKO able to perform the audit? There are still records that have not been returned, specifically identified as being Oprah requests. They couldn't possibly audit around missing documentation unless they agreed to accept those conditions. PKO also failed to follow up on its 2021 comments and recommendations that the town should review security measures relating to its information cybersecurity. The 2021 audit report and Part 4, roster of officials, comments and recommendations, pages 205 to 211, are the only pages out of the 222-page report that council members are required to certify that they have actually read. The affidavit was filed with R-22-216. I have reviewed all the council meeting minutes from September 2022 through July 2023, and there are no resolutions addressing this comment. I also noted that the CFO is not a member of the Finance Committee, and PKO should have addressed this as a risk in their audit. The town participates in the State Health Benefits Plan and has since 2017, as per Resolution 16-178, that had unanimous approval of the meeting attended by both William Herlock and Sean Spiller. Certainly both council members are aware of the eligibility requirement that local government officials can only participate in SHBP if they work for a local employer that participates in SHBP. The statements council members signed are written in a way that makes it impossible to interpret as anything other than fraud. The combination of the delinquent 2022 audit, undisclosed cyber attack, evidence of council member fraud, and missing records rises to the level of reportable material and significant weaknesses in internal control. This council must refocus its priorities on matters important to community members.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Noah Siegel. I live at 4 Hilltop Place with my wife, Lauren, and our two and a half month old baby girl named Sloan. We moved there at the beginning of August, and she was born about a month later. So we're very new to Montclair, but really enjoying it here so far. I'm joined by Matthew Dresnick, who also lives on Hilltop Place with his wife, Erin, his 2 daughters, Charlotte and Natalie. And we're here on behalf of the neighborhood comprised by Hilltop Place, Lewis Court, and Pleasant Avenue. We'd like to request additional safety measures at the intersection of Hilltop Place and Pleasant Avenue, namely in the form of additional stop signs or the relocation of the existing stop sign. Matthew, if he so chooses, can speak to some of these specific dangers he's witnessed at this intersection in his years living there, but it poses a major hazard.
Can you explain what you mean by relocation of the existing
There
sign?
is, I have a picture I would like to show you all, if you're amenable. There is one stop sign currently on Hilltop leaving the cul-de-sac, whereas a true 3-way intersection would have stop signs at all 3 points, but primarily on the intersecting street, in this case Pleasant, which intersects Hilltop. There is no stop sign in that location, and there is really poor visibility around all of the corners of the intersection. There is also no crosswalk, and there is a sidewalk on only one side of the street. I think in a perfect world, ideally, there would be 3 stop signs. From our point of view, it seems like a small lift. I understand in practice there are challenges to that. So we request one of 2 things specifically, one being either an additional stop sign at Pleasant or the relocation of the existing stop sign to Pleasant, which, to my understanding, would have no material cost. It's really whatever the amount of labor is necessary to have it moved. With my remaining time, I'd like to show you that picture of the intersection, if you're amenable. And if you have any, my understanding is that this has been posed, I'm not sure if to the council or the county, previously on numerous occasions. Complaints have been filed. I can't speak to those, but I think this would be incredibly beneficial for the safety of the neighborhood. And my wife and I plan to be there for 2 or 3 decades at least. So we'd like to see it a place where we don't have to fear for the safety of our child.
So I see you got it on your phone, so I'd say if you can email that over to the clerk so we can all take a look at it. I'll also note, I think some of the biggest challenges, we get this all the time, it's these four-way stops or three-way stops in this case, everything else. Mr. LaPola can speak to this a little bit as well, but it's important we get this in his hands so we can start to take a look at it. We are, are governed by a lot of state rules around this. They call it a warrant study. You've got to look at crash data, a bunch of other things in terms of trying to put up four-way stop signs. Relocating it from one street on the intersection to another might be a little different. So I think there's an avenue there that it might be able to happen a little bit quicker or a little bit easier. So if you share that again with Mr. LaPola, he can look into, is that different than requesting a four-way stop, or in this case, a three-way stop, right? Which does require a higher bar of these warrant studies, these traffic studies, crash studies, et cetera. Maybe if it's just switching it, it's not the same. I don't know enough in this instance, but if you share that over, Mr. LaPola, get an answer for you, and we'll figure out how we do it.
Sure. And what is that email address, or where could I find it?
He's got it for you right there.
Thank you.
This doesn't involve county roads, though, I don't believe.
Don't believe so, no. All right.
Mr. Russo's on a roll. He's trying to get everything over to the county thnite, so that's
No, I'm
it's
saying it
county, we're
doesn't
getting it over
involve
there.
county. It doesn't involve. So don't confuse, we have the power over those roads.
Fantastic. And when would be a good time to revisit this personally at a meeting?
I'd say email him. Again, he's got to go ask if it's different between a four-way stop and just moving a stop sign. I don't know that answer. I'm not sure exactly how long that'll take.
Stop sign. He wants a stop sign added on Hilltop.
He asked
two
for
things.
he asked for both. He asked for either, correct?
Yeah, so whatever you can do would be an improvement.
Pleasant and Hilltop. It's right down the street from my house.
It's your councilman, you know your
What I'll-
councilman?
I do.
Tell me what he's asking for.
Thank you, Mr.
It's already, I'm telling you, it's already on Hilltop. He would like one on the opposite of Hilltop as well as Pleasant Avenue.
Sir, I would like either one, whatever you are able to
What
do.
would you prefer the two?
Certainly.
That's what I'm trying to clarify.
Yes,
No, I got what he prefers. I was saying there's one that may be easier, so let's find out the answer.
all right. Thank you all very much.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Matthew Dresnick. I live at One Hilltop, so I'm at the corner of that intersection. And I have a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old. I've lived in Montclair for 17 years, been at One Hilltop for 7 years. My kids cannot play outside in front of the house because of all the Uber drivers and Lyft drivers coming from West Orange. They speed, they go, 50 miles down Hilltop sometimes. So those stop signs would be crucial. My kids could play outside. Right now, we have to go to Lewis Court for them to go and play, which I kind of think is crazy that they can't play outside my house. So that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
How do you know they're Uber drivers?
Because I say Uber.
I know, but, could it be other people speeding through?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's anyone. You have Pleasant is 0.4 miles, and it's a drag, and it was recently paved, I think, maybe pre-COVID, so, I mean, it's fresh. They speed all the time. I mean, we had a block party, and a car was going 50 miles towards us while we had the road closed off, and me and another resident had to, stop the car from speeding and hitting the kids on the bike race.
You have these problems all over town.
Of course.
And I've seen it for years. I don't know what we're going to do. People are just madness in
Yeah.
speeding today.
So
And you've got to stop it, but
it would be
we
great.
could put
if you
signs
had, like you
everywhere
said,
and have
stop
cops
signs would help.
everywhere.
So, thank you.
We'll look at you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good evening. My name is Kareem Benjaloun. I live at 347 North Fullerton. I realize the green vest probably gives it away, but my kids are part of, or at least my daughter. My son is a sophomore in high school, so he doesn't quite do the bike bus. But my daughter partakes in the whole experience, and it's a really, again, fun, enjoyable, confidence-building experience. But I'm also here, I think what I'm realizing is I'm also representative, I think, as many people here, of safety in Montclair. We all know the it takes a village sort of statement. It takes a council, it takes the residents of the town, it takes a county. It takes everybody to kind of come together and really sort of figure out what are the right priorities and how do we do our best, especially to kind of keep the town safe. I think this is a cause that is a win-win-win. There is no loss if we all commit to this. And I wanted to thank you and applaud you for Vision Zero Task Force in place, but also for your decision today to actually go ahead and start with the process of lowering speed limit. On North Fullerton, it is extremely well-traveled and people speed nonstop. I'm constantly kind of looking out for our children and the children on the block. Near Watchung, I witnessed, actually, it was sort of dusk, but kids leaving the field and a car kind of speeding, not even sort of thinking of slowing down. I had to sort of really raise my voice to kind of remind them that there were children around, and they just seemed oblivious. As you say, it's sort of a little bit of madness. I just want to encourage, and you know, it's wet and cold out here. I feel there's warmth here. There's a lot of sort of dialogue going on. Not too much heat. It's a quiet evening, right? Not too much heat, but I feel like we're going in the right direction. I think there's a lot to be thankful for, proud of in terms of what we're doing. There's still a lot to do. I see us, all of us, as part of the Bike Bus team as hopefully partners. We're full of energy, ideas, creativity. I know it's not easy. It's sort of a juggling game, and we kind of have to figure out how to keep everything sort of where it needs to be. But I just really want to encourage us to kind of be mindful and thoughtful about continuing to make this safe. I think there's a beautiful story to be told about Montclair, and for us to be sort of a model for towns out there. So keep going at it, and we'll be here and we'll be supporting you, but also making suggestions and requests to kind of keep things going in the right direction. So thank you all, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Jim.
Good evening. My name is Damara Scott, and I am a resident of 59 Pleasant Avenue in the 4th Ward. I am representing what I presented last month because you were not here at that time. I came to the budgeting meeting in January of this year and spoke about variations of issues that I have as a resident and as a homeowner in Montclair in the 4th Ward on the same avenue as the councilman. I found that none of my issues were addressed because one of the issues that I spoke about was that the councilman's wife and his pet had been trespassing on my property. And as a result of me bringing that up, along with the fact that there are large amounts of events that happen there where the noise is going in, DJs, and these parties go upward to midnight, and the police have not been called. I have called the police, and then even one of the women who have come here and has represented, I guess, the Renters Association, David Toller, Mira Toller, has been present, and I've called the police on that home. They turn the music down, they turn the music back up. I am a resident who lives directly next to Major Jennings, who is the principal of Buzz Aldrin, who has trespassed on my property on several occasions. Nothing was addressed, and what I received was a threat to have the police called on me because David Cummings found that me stating that his wife, it was near my home, and that his property, his pet has been on my property, and I have had to deal with feces, dog poo-poo, and other things. So because you were not here last week, I am presenting to you at this moment evidence of his dog on my property. Now, I've been at these meetings, and I find them to be quite contrary to the response that I have gotten, because I've never in my entire life had anyone threaten to call the police on me for speaking the truth. I've heard various individuals speak in reference to budgets, in reference to fraud, and a slew of things, and they have always been met with quite kindness, or they walk off and there's no kickback or no pushback on that at all. But what I received after I said the reason why I will not be calling the police for a lot of these issues is because I don't deem them to be important enough to abuse the police's resource to address these issues. But instead, what I received was a threat to call the police. So then in addition to that, I've heard several times where they've discussed budgets. And what I've seen several times living next to Major Jennings' house, which is one of the most disturbing houses that I have ever purchased, and I've never had an experience where I've lived next to neighbors who have been this disrespectful. What I have seen several times is the fire truck come over to that home where they are picking up packages. His son-in-law comes over to hug his son. I find that the abuse of power that is being displayed by this town, by the individuals who are employees of this town, is disgusting, to say the least.
Thank you for your time.
So, Mr. Mayor, I just want to respond to the police. The police were called because the police were being called to see what their recourse was for my wife, because the neighbor put her picture up on Halloween on her yard, and my wife felt that was very disturbing, and so she called the police to see what her options
Well,
were.
if I might offer, Councilman, I get it. It seems like, there's something going on here, and it's less of a council with all due respect kind of thing, and maybe you guys can have that conversation in whatever space is appropriate, that you can hopefully have some type of resolution.
But do you see what the difference is at this moment? I have heard someone come up here and accuse you personally of misplacing millions of dollars in an N.J.S.A, and there has been no dispute about that. He is still not addressed.
There's a lot of dispute about that.
Okay,
However,
well, I'm not here to just,
However,
that person
I will
was,
note, we
let
will
me
say
be clear,
everybody,
that
thank you
person
for your
did not
comments,
get
yeah.
a threat to have the police called.
No.
And even when presenting the truth, not even the decency of acknowledging that on record, January 17, 2023, he said that I was wrong, that it was an untruth, he found it to be discerning, and that he was going to contact his wife. And tell his wife to call the police to defend that lie. So even at this moment, when I've presented this as kindly as I can, I've taken a moment to present this as if this is a law, like a court of law. He still does not have the decency or the courtesy to address me the same way you address every other township member. That is disrespectful, and I find it to be a very targeted attack, especially as a black woman. When I come here to speak a truth that was so simple as dog poo, and you are still continuing to not even acknowledge that that's your wife, that's your dog, and that does not warrant a call to the police. It's disrespectful and it's racist.
Anyone else for public comment?
Good evening. I'm Ahava Felicidad, President and first founder of the Tenants Organization of Montclair. And to clarify from a previous public comment, Mina Toller is not in charge of renters in Montclair. This is recorded, right? The Tenants Organization of Montclair is the group that brought you rent control. With the help of my advisor, Mitch Kahn, of the New Jersey Tenants Organization. Good evening, everyone who's on the council, and thank you in this week of Thanksgiving. Still to date, over 120 municipalities in the state of New Jersey have rent control. We are proud to be an example of one that took almost 50 years to accomplish. 2 of those years being in the midst of a world health crisis that we will move beyond, however, never forget. Numerous others whose presence and participation was made known at several council meetings and beyond put in tireless hours organizing so that our ordinance would come to fruition. Now I would like to take a moment of silence for everyone who's had family and friends transition. May we honor their memories, live and love on during the holidays and all of our days. To reach the Tenants Organization of Montclair, Tenants Organization Montclair at gmail.com, 973-936-8848. To end my public comment, I would like to remind everyone that thank yous are always in order. For the following members of the Tenants Organization of Montclair: posters. These are posters that were actually donated by our local Staples in Cedar Grove. I'm a part of a program with them. They donated these to us when we were outside of the council to get rent control when the pandemic first started.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
We'll just do one more. And all of you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you all, and have a really good, happy Thanksgiving. And I appreciate all of the work that you do and that you've done for us. With all the crazy things that go on, you know, you're still in very difficult positions. We understand that. And this is huge for us. We'll never forget it, and we have it now forever. Thank you.
Bet. We're very proud of that. Thank you. Councilwoman Price Abrams.
Ahava, I just wanted to, as you called out, for whatever reason at this time that we're prompted to give thanks, also to remember people who just passed, and I just feel called upon to say that in my professional work role, someone on my own team just passed away on the weekend. I'll just say her name is Verita White, and I'm very deeply saddened by her loss. So just for you having brought that up, I just wanted to acknowledge that that's, you know, for many people, I'm sure there's somebody real in their space, so thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Hi, good evening, everybody. We could have coordinated that, but it must have been sort of psychic, because I also wanted to, first of all, start with thanks. Thanks to you for taking the time to jot down all the important information for the people who can't be here. Thank you to Mr. Lapola for stepping in, and you've already been so responsive in many different ways. Thank you, Mr. Herlock, for spending time with me earlier this year, after I was not so nice to you. So even more.
You're forgiven. Thank you.
Thank you. I forgive you too. Mr. Terry, it's a love fest. Welcome, and thank you for stepping into this role. Peter Jacobellis, if you're watching this, thank you for everything you did while you were here and believing in a lot of different things that I wasn't sure anybody would believe in. Mr. Spiller, thank you so much for being responsive. You probably conduct the best meeting around here. There's a lot to learn there. Mr. Russo, you're a champion for so many people, and your voice is like a family member at this point. And so thank you for all your work and everything you've done to pass the gas leaf blower ordinance. Lori, thank you so much. None of this would have happened without you. And I know how hard you work here. Mr. Cummings, thank you for engaging with me even when we disagree.
It's scary to be last on this.
Mr. Burr, my son just recently said, "You're not being mean to Mr. Burr, are you?" His daughter's really cool. So I will never be mean to you, and hopefully I won't be ever mean to anybody. So thank you for that, and I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. This week was really difficult. If you see my face, it looks like I got beaten up because I feel like I got beaten up. To watch those trees be felled was painful. It was so painful. There was people sobbing, people crying, and I know that that is stuff that people are going to make fun of, you know, tree huggers, what a tree people. But it was different. It wasn't just about trees. It was about our climate and our future. And as a mom, that's what I worry about. Maybe it's a privilege to be able to worry about my kids and how they'll cope in climate change. If that's my privilege, then I'll use that privilege to try and make some change. That reality is inevitable, and so we need to do more in Montclair to protect our trees, says the woman who helped ban gas leaf blowers. It's important. We rely on those trees, and I worry about overburdened communities, which actually Champlain Terrace is defined as such by the N.J.S.A, and now they have no trees at all to look at. People who grew up in those homes. Tears and hugs and people who came who I had never even met, strangers in the street. There's so many people who came in support of trees in Montclair, and I know that that situation was sort of impossible because it wasn't outside of your control. And there are other things that hopefully through the zoning board will be looked at. But we need to do more about trees, and our tree ordinance is so weak. And we, as Montclair, it doesn't represent us. We shouldn't have a tree ordinance that gives the power to a paid arborist to define which trees need to come down. So I would say, let's please get that going, because I worry deeply about what's going to happen to those trees. And so many people in 1986 contributed to preserving trees here in Montclair. So we need to do better. The other thing I wanted to mention is if you would like to come and visit Champlain Terrace, there's a lot of neighbors there who would love to just share what has happened to them and how they feel. And if there's anything that can be done to plant more street trees there to help, we certainly are all going to pitch in and volunteer to plant pollinator gardens in our health strips now that we know it's allowed. And my last 40 minutes, I want to dedicate to another thing I'm so thankful to in Montclair, and that's our animal shelter. We have perhaps one of the most wonderful animal shelter directors, Liz Morgan, and I would like to see her have all the help that she needs. So I know you guys are figuring out the budgets, but I don't know that it's okay for our animal shelter director to be the one who's cleaning up everything and who has no staff if people get sick. So she never complains, but I can see it, and I've gone and I've volunteered and we lug stuff, and I would like to do more, but my time is constrained. And that animal shelter does magic in people's lives, so we should support them. Thank you.
I'll just say a couple things that you noted. One thing I'd say and I'd ask is certainly to connect with our environmental commission. They did a lot of work around finding the balance of what was legal and you can control around the tree ordinance. I know it took years to get what we actually have there in terms of that tree ordinance. And I know they're always looking for, community involvement in their meetings, their open public meetings, and oftentimes here or other places, and just the conversation there as to what that would look like. And I'm sure then they'd say, help volunteer to, what that might look like. And then, of course, running it through legal to see what we legally can prohibit on either private property or, or otherwise school property or, the like. So I'd ask you to get involved in that if you can, and
Definitely.
I appreciate that for sure. And the only other comment I'd make is, I think your comments are a microcosm. I think everyone's here of the difficulty around budgets, right? We've heard, almost everyone tonight, hey, we'd love to do something that we did some days. We want to do it every day. We'd like to see dollars put into investment in streets to make them safer. We'd like to see, you hear it here, right? There's an ask and ask and ask. We'd like to see more in the community policing. We'd like to see, those were the things we've heard already. And it is always balancing, okay, where are those dollars? Where are they coming from, and what does that tax levy look like? But we will continue to always look for ways we can to be efficient and to kind of support those pieces. But I'd ask specifically if you get involved, especially around the tree piece with the Environmental Commission. I know they did put a lot of work into what we have. It took, I remember, 2 years to get what we had, kind of enforceable specifically. And I know they'd love help with any kind of changes you'd like to recommend.
Yeah, definitely. Lisa Johnson and I had a lovely conference call with the U.S. Forestry Department, and they gave us a lot of mentorship and pointed us to ordinances that have withstood the test of time. And I think ours is good. It's just the authority who decides is where the problem is.
So it might be a more minor tweak then.
Tweak, yeah.
Okay.
And then the animal shelter, I think just a part-time assistant or something would be great.
We hear you. It's all dollars. Thank you, though.
Mayor, just a question. Anna, are you due a congratulations from us because people told us you got an award or you did get recognition from the state on sustainable New Jersey or whatever it was that you were recognized?
Well, my award is shared with all of you. Yes, I was. I got an email, funny enough, while I was crying because trees were falling in front of me, from the N.J.S.A announcing that I've won the governor's Environmental Excellence Award for my efforts for clean air in Montclair. But that wouldn't be possible without you. So thank you.
Thank you.
And if you'd ever like to come up and do all that again, we're going to give you 5 minutes next time, specifically to you for that,
Sure.
You can give it right to the clerk,
Hi, counselors. There's a handout that I'm circulating, and I just want to say that, what? Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Amy Veach. I live on 535 Upper Mountain Avenue. the intersection of Upper Mountain Avenue and Mount Hebron. And I'm very excited and super supportive of the ordinance to reduce the speeds on Upper Mountain Avenue. When I look closer at the proposed streets, I thought, great, 25 miles per hour, this is fantastic, wonderful, wonderful. But I was really disappointed to see that 1 mile from Little Falls to Jerome Street on Upper Mountain is not being included with that 25 miles per hour speed limit. And I'm here to ask you to reconsider, to advocate. I know that one of the ordinances that you guys read last week was to reduce all the county roads to 25 miles per hour. And I would just like to advocate for this section as well. It's 1 mile, it's 3 minutes of travel time. And in that stretch, you have Mountainside Park, which is a massive pedestrian hub. You have the swimming pool, you have the playground, you have Iris Garden, you have Mills Reservation.
Just as a note to give you some solace, we're advocating for 25 everywhere,
Okay,
including
good.
all county roads.
Okay, good.
Through the
Including Grove?
We're
And Upper
advocating
Main. Okay.
for 25 everywhere.
Everywhere.
Including
Beautiful.
all county roads.
Okay. Well, if I can give you any more to kind of help in that argument with the stretch that's not on that listed tonight. So you have the park, and you have Bradford Elementary School. And on one Friday morning, I was just sitting there, and just out of curiosity, I was like, I'm going to count how many pedestrians go by. So for a 2-hour window, in the morning on a Friday, I counted 112 people crossing that corner. And primarily, most of them were school children with Bradford Elementary School. They were kids going with their parents, walking to school, and classes from Bradford, going to the park, going to the Mills Reservation. And I just, if you guys can look at your little handout, I feel like the headline is a really bad title for a movie, 4 crashes in 40 days. But I want to just draw your attention to this middle picture, which I took through my window as all the kids were walking on that corner on that street. And if you notice the numbers corresponding to the photos up above of the crashes and the cars, where the cars were thrown on that sidewalk, literally where all those kids are. And, again, I said 112 people were on that corner. And a 2-hour window on a Friday. It's like, so anyway, and also the university 1 mile down, or 1 street down. So anyway.
That's a little different. Yes, thank you.
Please, don't forget the rest of the county roads because they all matter. And on the back, just some graphics to kind of visually tell you the difference that speed makes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time. And happy holidays. I know it's
You too.
close to the break, so thank you for all your efforts.
Thank you.
Good evening. Ilmar Vanderer, 127 Edgemont Road. Echoing some previous speakers, I'd like to mention a few things I'm thankful for this holiday season. I am thankful to live in a wonderfully diverse town like Montclair, which is always fascinating, never boring, never a dull moment. I'm also thankful that we live in a democracy where people are free to express their views, even if we don't all agree, and we have free and fair elections to choose who represents us. I'm also thankful we have a very patient town council who listens as we bring our concerns to you. So I, first of all, want to commend the council very much for your swift and decisive action in lowering speed limits around town, which is definitely necessary. And I do have a question, though, as Councilor Russo mentioned. Last week, my sister, who is a licensed civil engineer specializing in traffic engineering with 30 years experience, did indeed do a presentation for our class. And she left us with 3 words to consider. And remember, this comes from an engineer with 30 years experience. Enforcement, enforcement, enforcement. She pointed out that, lowering speed limits is nice, but it doesn't always reach the desired effect by itself. So given that we have such a robust and wonderful police department, I'm wondering what corresponding actions we might expect to help optimize this speed limit and help regulate and reinforce behavior around it.
Well, I'll just say thank you. If you're done, we'll respond to comments. But anything else you have to add?
Oh, no. I'm just wondering. I thought somebody might have something to offer.
Well, I certainly won't speak for the police chief, but I think we've heard him up here last week,
Mhm.
and he noted, and I noted, right, even with us switching to the Pittman schedule to get more officers on the street, I was shocked, and I think my council colleague could speak to it better than I, how few officers we have on patrol, even given our size of our force with the different spaces they have to be in. I also am well aware, because residents reach out all the time, where they're constantly asking for police assistance in a number of matters, right? Certainly if it's a burglary area, or people want to focus in an area, or there's an issue with somebody that they feel threatened by and they want something checked out. Their officers are called in a number of different places. I certainly think enforcement is important, and you've seen the dollars that are invested in the police department. Quite frankly, with some conversation around should those dollars be invested at those levels in the police department, right? But we, I think, view overall that public safety is number one, right? So we've got to make sure we're investing there. I will say, while I appreciate your comment about enforcement, I don't think that we are going to work our way through this solely with changing speed limits. I don't think we're going to work our way through this solely with enforcement. I think it is going to be changing physical infrastructure, right? Because that is the way, over time, through your capital investments, we can change the perception of a road to a driver to make them control their speed, as opposed to the chance that an officer catches them speeding, or me or you, anyone speeding, right? So I think it's going to be an investment over time. It's going to be what we learned through the Vision Zero Task Force and other efforts. But I don't think it's going to be, the dollars that we put to try to get enough officers to be everywhere to catch everyone speeding is a tough move. But we're going to work through education. Yes. We're going to work through lowering speed limits. Yes. We're going to work through making drivers aware. You made a great point. Some of those signs that show how fast people are going. We're going to do all those things. But I do think that longer-term capital investment as streets are redone and all those pieces that you change the physical space that drivers are in is the winner from all the data I've seen and everything that I've heard. So it's a yes and, but I think that's the key. So I appreciate the enforcement, important, yes, but there's some other pieces I think are at least as important, if not more.
Without question, but specifically about the speed limit, that is a critical component. Thank you for going on the record with that and demonstrating your understanding of a complex issue. I'm happy to share the presentation with the council if anyone is interested. Happy Thanksgiving.
You as well. Thank you.
Mayor, you made a good point. Also, education and the court system. Add that to it also. That needs to be changed, and the judge needs to be made aware of some of the issues that we do have in the community.
One last thing on that, Mayor, and Mr. Vanderer, I know your sister had really knowledge of all the signage and all the equipment. There's so much equipment, and I know Roger Terry visited some of the vendors in Atlantic City, as I did, that have all this equipment. There's always advancements made, but to alert people how fast they're going, that's like the best sign that you ever could put on a road, But Roger, if you wanted to tell us anything about what you learned, or is there any new equipment? We got to buy more flashing lights, to warn people. Your sister told us certain things are allowed, certain are not, certain they're in a book that's actually got all the different regulations and signage. Roger?
There are a lot of updated devices that they have today that are available. If you've seen around some of the municipalities, there are signs that flash the amount of speed that you're going. But nowadays, that not only do they flash the amount of speed that you're going, they take the data for the amount of vehicles that are speeding on that street. This data can be brought back to the police department to let them know exactly which streets that they're having the biggest problems on. And these devices can be taken and moved around all around town. Some of them are, I would say, somewhat expensive, some a little bit less expensive, but that's something that I'd like to have with Mr. LaPola. You know, I spoke to him a little bit before about it, and my colleagues up here, and I think something that's very doable. You know, we can purchase some of these devices and put them around town, and hopefully that they will help. Just part of the problem, as you indicated.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Christina Thomas, 257 North Mountain Ave. And I just wanted to say that spending more money to recurb the same narrow streets without actually addressing infrastructure seems kind of short-sighted, but so does investing money in departments without knowing important data, like how many fires there are in Montclair to respond to. Happy Thanksgiving. This was a difficult meeting to come to because of the timing of it. Last week, I explained to you in detail why the interim township attorney should not be extended past December 31st of this year. Yet you extended him not to the end of your terms, but through the end of 2024. And once again, you demonstrated a refusal to abide with OPMA. You did this dirty deed in a non-transparent, if not clandestine manner. Why do you continue to engage in dishonest practices that are actually illegal? Why do you consistently disrespect all of the taxpayers of this town that you're required to represent? I know on the record and for the record that the reappointment resolution was not on the agenda. It was not listed in the summary under the recording. OPMA says that even if a resolution is introduced from the dais, it must be reduced to writing before being voted on. Why doesn't the township attorney know that? Why doesn't the clerk know that? What are they doing in their jobs and in these positions, and why are you forcing the township to pay for these people who can't do the job as required? This was yet another resolution that was secretly passed in the middle of the night, so hardly anyone knew about it. There is an expectation that you may be voted out of office next May. How come you're saddling the next council that will take over on July 1st, 2024, with the unqualified attorney that you selected and reappointed 3 times, despite so many issues caused directly by his lack of relevant knowledge and lack of experience? The above issues are all important, but what's most important is the fact that Mr. Burr is obviously and painfully unqualified for the function he's trying to fulfill. This has real consequences for all of us in this town. As a result of his bad legal advice, the township is mired in several lawsuits, which are not only embarrassing, they're costing the taxpayers more and more money. I noticed that Mr. Spiller hired his own attorney in the civil case of Mrs. Rao that you're not even named as a defendant in. With your ordinance, you're hoping to get reimbursed. That's unfortunate.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Keeping Mr. Burr in this critical position is unbelievably offensive to us all, and
Thank
you
you.
all should know better.
Hi everyone, I'm Laura DePisa and I'm a resident of 577 Upper Mountain Ave. I just wanted to echo what Amy had said. I actually wasn't going to speak at this meeting, but my 3 children are 3 of the 100+ pedestrians that cross Upper Mountain Avenue between Mount Hebron and Normal on a daily basis to go to school. And when I tell you it is a very, very dangerous stretch, and I will never, ever let them cross the street alone. It's unfortunate, especially because there's no sidewalk on my side of the street. So to go to and from Bradford, we have to cross the street. And I've only lived there for 2 years, but I've witnessed it get worse over time. I think a lot of it is because of just the speeding and the reckless driving that occurs. I know that you're working with the county to get that stretch also reduced, but I just wanted to echo my concerns as a resident of Montclair, as a resident of Essex County, if there's anything that we can do to help. And I will be introducing myself. I'm happy to see that there's an Essex County representative here at the meeting. But actually just curious as to what the timeline is on how to move forward with the county.
Sure, I'll let Mr. LaPolla answer that specifically. You know, certainly as we introduce, there's already been conversations with the county from a number of us and from Mr. LaPolla. You know, we do engage in that before things we bring to them, of course, as a courtesy as well, and an encouragement for them to take action. We then pass this. We will continue those conversations. I'm not sure how quickly they will act. I think as one of, you know, was noted already, you know, they are likely going to require certain studies and some other pieces they've indicated as such. But we are hopeful, and again, with your voice and all of our collective pressures, you know, we hope to see some action there. But again, as they are going to be requiring studies of the area, that's going to take some time. You know, they look for X period, I don't know what the right numbers are, X period of time to look at what's going on here, to measure speeds, et cetera, and then get some data from that, right? So that usually, I know on our end, local end, when we do those, they often take a little longer than you'd think, right? They pick optimal times when there's the most traffic. They pick, you know, times when, you know, they're making sure they capture everything, right? So, Mr. LaPolla, do you have a little bit of a better idea? And I know your work also in some of your other capacities might give you some experience in that area.
Sorry. I can only assure you that this section of Upper Mountain Avenue is at the top of our list in terms of studies.
Yeah, and I would really suggest going there when it's, you know, between 8:30 and 9 o'clock, when there's a lot of school children who are trying to cross the street there, going to Bradford. And I know that there's a lot of bus stops as well. If there's ever an accident that occurs, like had occurred a couple of weeks ago, a child's life would be at stake. Thank you. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Mr. LaPolla, can you check and see if there's a crossing guard there during school hours?
There is a crossing guard, yeah. There is a crossing guard, who also has almost gotten hit on numerous occasions as well, but there is a crossing guard there.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay, with that, I will close public comment. Thank you for that. And certainly, you know, mindful of, with the public comments being closed at this hour, I know one of the comments before was the late hour with which we conduct some business, but that is also because we do try to hear from everyone in public comment, and when that time ends, that's when we conduct our business. I know that
well, I'm on the record that,
Councilman, you.
And I'd love for the council to consider this, that we put a limit of when people can sign up, because oftentimes it's disrespectful for folks who show up here on time and wait, and then people come in late and sign up, which, you know, oftentimes it's a number of people. So I would like to talk to Mr. LaPolla and Mr. Burr to look into the possibility of limiting the sign-up time for individuals to come in here. Because when people come in at 8 and 8:15 to sign up, I think that just extends our day. When we're here at 7 o'clock, you know the time the meeting starts. I know sometimes people say, well, they have things they have to do. I get that, but so I've had that discussions with several of you guys already, so it's something I think we need to seriously consider.
Yeah, well, maybe I'd ask, as you engage in that conversation, anyone else wants to join in, and there's a number of boards and commissions who also have a set amount of time for public comment so that the business isn't being done that late, meaning if you have 1 hour of public comment, you know, and then you go to the business. But I leave that to you to have those conversations and maybe come back to the group as to what you're thinking there.
Time limit is interesting, but then if people are here, you know, and you put it 3 minutes each, that can extend it, whereas if you're not here by 7:30 and not signed up on it, I know that the Board of Education, what it's done is at some point, well, at least when I was on the board, once we started, after we went through certain things, and once the meeting started, whatever wasn't signed up, then we're not allowed to speak.
It was kind of like cut off. Like
right, it was right. The sheet was brought up and then the meeting started.
Well, certainly some stuff for us to think about. I'll give that some thought. Okay. Thank you to everybody there. With that, public comments are closed. I did want to move a proclamation here. We got this request in, and given the month, and certainly this is the last meeting we have in this month, this is a request to have an official proclamation recognizing November 2023 as Transgender Awareness Month. This was whereas the mission of Out Montclair is to increase awareness on the importance of compassion, equality, acceptance, and love, and whereas Out Montclair seeks to promote compassion, acceptance, protection, awareness, and visibility to the transgender and non-binary community in today's political climate and in the state of New Jersey. And whereas, according to the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, 29% of the transgender community lives in poverty. 74% of transgender youth report verbal harassment at school due to their gender identity and expression. 55% of transgender youth report physical violence and attacks due to their gender identity and expression. And whereas the National Library of Medicine released data in 2022 that shows that 82% of transgender humans consider suicide, and that approximately 40% of that population has attempted suicide. And whereas the Town Council seeks to stand in support of our LGBTQ+ community by declaring November as Transgender Awareness Month, to stand up for those whose voices have been drowned out and silenced by hate and violence, so that transgender humans may continue to lead a safe and productive life as their true selves. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Mayor and Council of the Township of Montclair, that the month of November is hereby proclaimed as Transgender Awareness Month in the Township of Montclair. And it be that further resolved that the Mayor and Council pledge to increase awareness and the importance of love, acceptance, and compassion for the LGBTQ+ community. And I so move. Thank you so much. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. And certainly, as we do with so many of the proclamations, it's important that we raise awareness and that we speak up on issues around all of the members of our community. So thank you to all. Appreciate that. Next, we have Ordinance O-23-38, which is an ordinance to establish a new section of the Township Code entitled Chapter 134, privately owned salt storages. We discussed this last meeting. I so move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, comments? Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
Yes.
Counselor Schlager absent. Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Next is Ordinance O-23-39, which is an ordinance to amend Section 327-11 speed limits of the Code of the Township of Montclair, New Jersey, and I so move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. This is, again, moving to lower all speed limits in the township to 25 miles per hour. Again, as we noted in the last one, we've already moved to make speed limits around schools and school zones, and during those times, lower than that as well. And this is also requesting that the county move to lower every county road in the Township of Montclair to 25 as well. Mr. LaPola, anything else to add to that that we have here in this ordinance?
No, Mayor. I mean, you explained it pretty well there.
Pretty accurate in that?
Yes.
Okay. Councilwoman, I think, and then Deputy Mayor?
Just a question. We're on questions.
Yeah, right.
So this is saying date of introduction is tonight, so I'm just trying to, just help me with what we did last time and what this is. We're not on a second reading because we, can you
This is
just?
two different ordinances. Last time had to do with the school zones. This has to do with making our policy of all municipal roads at 25 miles an hour.
So I gather we discussed it at the meeting last time,
Right.
but we didn't actually have text, and this was what you produced
Yes,
in light of that discussion.
exactly.
And that's why I
And just for
found
clarity
myself a little bit
The text and what we had last meeting was school zones.
specific only.
Specific
Okay.
for school zones.
Right.
As part of that conversation was around the town, and the town having already lowered speed limits, but we caught these nuances of what about here, what about
Right.
there. Broadly, this is to make sure that every road in the township falls under this.
Yeah, and if you see county roads listed, it's because on those roads, there was a speed limit change made, approved by the county, requested by the town. So
the
when you
past,
do
you
that,
mean?
you have to include it in your ordinance. So you may see a road in here that's not a municipal road, but if they agree to change the speed limit, say they do from 35 to 30, it has to be included in our ordinance. So that's why you may see some county roads in this.
Right, no, thank you. So
And that's really not, it's because we had already gotten them to reduce the speed, that's why they're included in this.
So, for example, to that point, Grove Street is
Right.
down here at 30 because we had previously
Exactly.
requested and gotten them to do that
Yes.
per people who spoke
Right, so
earlier.
that's why it's there. We don't,
But
we can't change it ourselves.
Hang on, but so what we're doing also is separately making inquiry that they might bring that down to 25, and that's going to require traffic
Right.
studies, we heard, and all that. So that, the public was asking, and I was trying to make sure I understood it myself, so thank
that's
you
what
for
it
the
is.
clarity.
Mr. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. light of Ms. Beach's comments, I would like to see, and I don't know if this is substantive, and I don't know how the hell this plays in with the county, with all due deference, sir. But I would like to see that Upper Mountain Avenue 25 from Bloomfield Avenue to the Little Falls Town line. Is that a substantive change, Mr.? I don't think it is.
Well, this is on for first reading, so whether it be a substantive change or not wouldn't impact
So I can-
the ordinance on first
So we
reading.
can
But let me,
amend-
hold on a second, let me just
could
understand
make-
this. Hold on a second before you start talking about substantive change or not. The goal here and the understanding is that this would be 25 every town, every road, correct, Mr. LaPointe?
Municipal roads.
Municipal road.
Right.
And requesting
The town.
every county road to do the same.
Right.
Right? Doesn't that fit?
That's not what
Tell me.
the ordinance.
That's not what it says here,
Okay,
sir,
okay.
with all due respect.
Yeah, help me out. yeah.
Sean, what I like to do,
Mhm.
quite frankly, is on the second page here of this, where it says Upper Mountain Avenue 25 with the 35 crossout.
Yeah.
All I want to do is go from Bloomfield Avenue to the Little Falls Town line,
Yeah, but
which is inconsistent with what the first line says.
But the first line is the county road, and the rest, there's only a section of the road that's the county. The part from 300 feet north of Jerome Place is,
So how do I get this done?
you're gonna get it done because we have to do a study and go back to the county and get their permit, and get them to reduce the speed on the section of the county road that, that's their jurisdiction. That last part there.
So
is
none
what
of these
they
are county
control.
roads, is what you're telling
Just
me?
one part of Upper Mountain Avenue is county road.
And the rest of these are not, none of these are county?
They are
Grove
county
Street?
roads, but they're only in here because previously, we had requested the county to reduce the speed limit. So Grove Street says 30 miles an hour, it's because we requested and they agreed to reduce the speed limit from 35 to 30. And as a result, when you do that, you have to include that road in your ordinance. Okay?
We did that in 2018
Yeah, I remember that,
under
yeah.
Mayor
Right.
Jackson.
And as I mentioned, this will be the number
So
one
5 years
request.
later, okay.
All right?
But now with
So
council.
the goal you're hearing there, Mr. Mayor, is to get this done. Like, we agree with you. Right, we're hopefully.
I'd like to get it all done, that's all. you know,
Mr. Mayor.
Let's-
For bureaucracy. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So,
You bet, sir.
I'm just going to be straightforward here. This is really going to come down to, I think, your thoughts of the infrastructure. So the past week, I've literally tried driving 20 miles per hour, and it was not easy. So I believe, Mr. Terry, your suggestion of the signs, so people can see what they're driving, because you're not driving and looking at your miles per hour while you're driving. But those signs, because I see them work, and there's one in West Orange, actually, when I go to one of the golfers, they have it in the area, and that sign does make an impact on your driving, whereas without that sign, 25 miles per hour and 20 miles per hour in a car does not feel very fast. So there has to be a way to engage the driver to look at what you're doing, and the street changes is very important. That's infrastructure. So, which is considerable. And people talk about they want us to give away pilot money, but where's that money going to come from? That's where that money comes from. But also the enforcement part, I hear it's one thing, but it's really going to come down to the driver. And we have to make sure that we are enforcing ways that drivers are reminded and see how fast they're driving. Because I challenge all of you to get in your car and drive home tonight and tell me you went 20 miles per hour and were able to do it and do it the whole way you got home. It's just, and the numbers and what they've given us tonight show the impact and the difference in those impacts of what can happen. But if this is something we're serious about, the only way that I see something immediately in terms of like low-hanging fruit is trying to get the signs on the roads that show what your speeds are with the equipment that you talked about to give police the information to see what areas are violations or things occurring consistently. So then it may come down to them not so much enforcing, but put the decoy cars in the street, as opposed to, literally, and then people see that. So there are multiple things that can happen, but I'm looking at this from both sides. And I think as we move forward, and these are things, who's the council representative for Vision Zero?
Well, that's what I actually wanted to speak to.
Okay.
Okay, so the mayor is one and I am another. And I think, I think there's been a groundswell, partly for the bike bus folks showing up, partly because Vision Zero was sort of simmering for a while till it finally got launched, and we had a meeting like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, the first one. So now we have both commitments, tangible, ordinance that we got started with right away about lowering these speed limits, but there's a talented group of people with lots of expertise from different kinds of sectors gathering to help us figure out what the recommendation should be. So, whether any of you get comments to the mayor and me, whether, directly to Laura Torchio or anybody else, I think we will be coming up with these suggestions and solutions. I mean, it's really, there's now finally a groundswell of activity around this, and I think it's been long in coming. The advocates who show up have helped us sort of bring it to, I think, came from multiple tacks. So I just think we're in a good place to be taking this on. The steps we're doing right now are very good, but let's listen to see what the recommendations come through. I mean, Deb, you're sitting here still. Is there anything else you would?
This is amongst us, and I think the number one suggestion from the professional staff was an engineer. So if we're talking about what we need to do, and Mr. LaPole, I believe you were in agreement.
Yes.
We need to get an engineer who can come in here and really get to the work, because, again, as the resident said, this could be years and years and we don't do anything, but, we have some accountability here. We've been told what was needed, which was an engineer, a traffic person, so we need to get moving on that as soon as possible.
And I think I've bin encouraged to hear Mr. LaPole's plan of that hire that he's talking about for that position to be an engineer. So I think we're on that track. And I'll just note, whether you or anyone else, I know Mr. LaPole had reached out, there's room for another council person on the Vision Zero task force, right? So we've asked around who else wants to be on it. So if anybody does, reach out.
Laura Torchio did call me yesterday, asked me if we had an answer to that question, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
So if there's another person, I know that.
I recommended, I don't want to overburden Roger, but there's got to be a police component. Well, I'm just saying, I recommend Roger, even though I was asked to take Peter's place. But I recommended Roger, but it's up to Roger. It's up, you can't force somebody on a committee. I just suggest that. Let me just ask one other question of what Bill has been talking about. I'm still trying to get this clear where it says Upper Mountain Avenue 30, then there's a cross out on that, Upper Mountain Avenue 25, and it excludes parts of Upper Mountain Avenue. Am I correct? Because that's what the gentleman who came with the dog said, that he had his dog hit in that one part of Upper Mountain that's a county road, or that's a town road, but people don't know it, so they still go 35 because it's got county signs. Is this going to correct that in any way?
Yes, I think what happens is there was different speed limits. This just, where it says, the top part where it says 30 miles an hour, from 300 feet north of Jerome Place, the Little Falls Town Line, that is a county road. The rest of it, you go to the bottom, Bloomfield Avenue to the point of 300 feet north of Jerome Place, that's the municipal road, and we're reducing the speed limit to 25 there.
Okay, so that's what the gentleman had come with.
Right, yes.
Because you don't know that you're going to
Right.
be able to reduce. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the final thing, I also ask that we make sure that daycare centers are included in this at the 20 miles per hour. And I don't see that, but find out,
Yeah, well-
just get a list of our daycare centers.
Okay. And that equipment you mentioned before, the police are pricing that now.
I see our deputy mayor. Did you?
Yeah,
want to
thank
do
you,
that?
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, yeah.
Before my tongue comes off its roller here, because I've got a lot of things I want to say. It wasn't just, I agree with you, David, but it wasn't just the nursery schools. There's the private schools, there's St. Catch. All of those areas need to be looked at, Mr. LaPola. So, Ms. Butler, you're telling me that the only area on Upper Mountain that's a county road then is Jerome Place to the town line?
Yes.
Okay. And we're going to get that included in here
That's number
somehow?
one.
Excellent. I like to hear that. I have to respectfully disagree, though, with some of my colleagues, and I have a lot of respect for you all. But you cannot sit here and tell me I'm in my car and I don't know how fast I'm going. That is just absurd, because I know if I'm going 25, you just said it was hard to do 20, and I know if I'm going 55. And we have a bunch of clowns in this town that are going 55 on Grove. I know. Someone came up earlier and said I live 2 houses away from Grove. I'm 1 house away from Grove. I'm also across the street from Northeast School. And these circus clowns, every morning after drop-off, are shooting up Fairview. They got to be going at least 45, 50, 55 miles an hour. And if I can see that, and I'm in my own car, and I know when I'm going too fast or whatever, I appreciate the signs, and yes, that's a limited effort, David, quite frankly, but you cannot sit here and tell me that people don't know how fast they're going because they don't look at their speedometers.
What I
That's
can
just
tell you,
crazy.
what I can tell you, Bill, is I specifically for the last week after the meeting, every time I got in my car and I had to go down Washington, which is 25 miles per hour, and I looked at it and I was like 20, and I'd get to headed towards Ridgewood, and without really even like gassing my car anymore, I'd be at 27. So yes, if you're going to be doing 40, you know the difference. That's not.
And those
my
are the
point-
ones I'm concerned
my
about,
point-
David.
My point and my question to you is drive home tonight at 20 miles per hour and see what that is like. And then, again, think about the fact that, to your point, when clowns, as you said they are, hope you're not talking about me. Because,
know, how fast are you
sometimes,
going?
you do that. If they are going 40 on Grove Street, then they see a sign in front of them that says, you're speeding at 43 miles per hour. All of a sudden, that triggers in them because, yes, you have clowns, but you also have people who are driving, and I've driven down Grove Street. I'd actually coming home, I do it quite a bit. And going from, when you come off Route 3 and you're going down Grove Street, it is easy to get to 35 miles per hour. And so therefore, what I'm saying is, as cars are driving, as a deterrent, this is a deterrent because everyone is not the same. And so some people literally may feel like they're not driving fast, but they are. And so these are reminders for them. You do have folks who do drive fast. So we're just going to disagree to disagree.
Well,
on
we
this.
can agree to disagree,
Right.
but I'm also the only one up here that lives and works in Montclair.
Mhm.
My office is on Bloomfield Avenue on Willow, which is a whole other circus. And then my house is over by Northeast, as I said. And you don't have to tell me to drive 20 going home tonight, because I'm going to be on Park Street, and the limit's 25, and I'm going to be going 25. I pulled over twice on Sunday with my family, because I had one of those clowns that are supposedly going to slow down when they see the flashing lollipop lights, about this far from my bumper, and I just pulled off and I let him go. And every time I stop in this town, I go to work every day here, okay? I have close calls at least 2 times a day, at least. And when these people stop, you couldn't even put a piece of paper between my bumper and their bumper. I can't even see their headlights or their dashboards. That's how close they are. So I do the speed limit here, believe me.
So what is your remedy then?
Hold on, I think we're all saying the same thing. So,
He started it, Mr. Mayor.
All right, fair.
No, I didn't
Well, I
start it.
know
You
Councilman Terry
started
wants
it.
to jump in here, but I'm hearing you guys are all looking for things that we could do to improve it. So thank you both. But yeah, Councilman?
I have the information from the individuals I talked to down in Atlantic City. Let them come here and do a presentation. So you can take a look at the devices that they have, some of the speed calming, devices that they have today for this decade that are very good. Now, I'm a 35-year retired police officer, and I'm telling this gentleman right here that most people do not look at their speedometer. Now, maybe you do, but most people don't.
You could feel if you're going 50.
You can 50, but you're saying 25 miles an hour. You said 25.
I see that
If that's the
Councilman wanted to
speed
get involved in this conversation
know?
in a dire
He's
way.
ready
He
for
wanted
the-
to-
By
he
the
wanted
way, I
to-
was also
yeah.
in Atlantic City, and I looked at this stuff too. I didn't get credit for it.
But anyway.
We can agree to disagree. Let's just continue.
That's exactly.
But Bill, 50 and 35 are totally different.
It's
If
two
you have a
different things.
25
Hey,
mile per hour.
David, you just said 20 was different.
It is. And what I'm saying to
Okay,
you, if
and
you're
I'm
doing.
telling you.
So can we move and vote on the lowering
Yes,
all the
please, Mr.
speed
Yeah, we
limits
can do that.
in
We need to have
Montclair
this discussion.
25?
Mayor, I just want to
So-
say one thing. We're really all on the same page.
You
And I
are
wa-
on the same
I
page,
want to
that's
say,
right.
no, what Bill was very dramatic and described this. And I also live and work in town because the only place I do go to work is Montclair State. And up there, they've got their own.
That's in
speed
Little
limits.
Falls.
Well, the entrance. So when you enter Montclair State, it says 15, but they have their own regulations. But I'm just saying that what we've got to do is get the equipment that Roger's talking about. I'm glad we brought that up. got to do the enforcement that Mr. Vander is talking about, and we've got to lower the limits with a lot of signs. The signs are key. I told the story last time about Park Street. When we put 25 miles an hour signs on in 1994, when I was councilman First Ward, it slowed everybody down for a few months. But when people found out nobody was watching, they started to go faster because they didn't see the police. Now, how do we get enough police presence to really ticket the people that are speeding? That is the other issue.
And infrastructure changes to change the dynamic of the street.
And education also. You know, we did the click it or ticket. Remember that, when that all started? Well, you can do a town-wide education piece for speeding also. Start right in the schools. You do it in the elementary schools, even though that they're kids, you know, what to watch out for and these type of things. You do it in the middle schools, you do it in high schools. For people who are just getting their licenses there, you know. I think that that is very important, you know, as a direction to go in.
But how do you educate those older clowns that Bill's talking about?
I don't know who he's talking about, like, you know. But.
Okay. All right, Madam Clerk?
I know somebody's going 50, you gotta be doing 50.
Madam Clerk?
Oh, there he started again.
All right. Oh, please. Counselor Cummings?
That's if I'm on the highway, David.
Yes.
Still can't do 20.
Deputy Mayor Herlock?
Are we going to work to get this, I know I'm not
Yes.
supposed to comment, but are we going to get this Jerome Place to the line at 25 like the rest of the street, Mr. Lupola? Given that representation, I'm going to vote yes, but man, this one's tough for me.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
Yes.
Counselor Schlager? Absent. Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Next is Resolution R-23-252, which is a resolution approving the submission of the best practices checklist inventory to the Director, Division of Local Government Services on behalf of the Township of Montclair. I will move it for the purposes of this discussion here.
I will second it only for the purposes of discussion.
So, Mr. Lupola, I'll go back to you. And I know I'd given you, you know, some of the items at the end of last meeting, mentioned some during last meeting, that I know for a fact some of the items are wrong, like our project labor agreement, which, you know, helped pass and introduce here. So, you know, so hold on. So I know that we've got, unfortunately, whatever our points that look like here, we've done better than what's been listed here. My concern secondarily is, you know, we shouldn't be submitting incorrect information, and thirdly, we should know, right, the answers to these questions. That said, I know there's some time frame and time crunch around accepting some of these pieces, getting the points and making sure we don't get dinged from the state for not submitting what we do have, and we've met the number needed. I got that. But certainly as I moved it and said for discussion, and I'm, you know, okay voting yes, but only in the context of you very clearly figuring out a way that we remedy the errors that are on here, noting the things that we are also doing. I think I hear you saying there's 3 of them that were wrong on here.
Right.
Right? I think that's got to be noted, and certainly I'd ask you to make sure putting in place some of the practices that we don't have those kind of errors again. These are, you know, ones that, you know, you can't, I see instantly, and we can't have that where this is wrong. It might matter in another year when the points are closer, and it still matters, and that you want to be right.
Point taken.
I just want to ask you, the mayor's right, that there's 3 that I saw that are no and should say yes. But what I'm trying to figure out is why would anybody think that we didn't have a project labor agreement, which we agreed to years ago under Mayor Jackson, and then why would we not have, we certainly have a list of what roads should be fixed. We do keep it, but
It's
somebody
very-
just
it's
didn't think we
technical.
do that?
Yeah, we don't keep a long-term road list. We do an annual review.
Oh.
So it's a matter of interpretation. The same thing with the project labor agreement. It was, we have it in the code, an ordinance was passed, but there's not the literal agreement. So there was some interpretive things there that perhaps, you know, should have been included, you know?
So who is,
We should
so
say
how do
that.
we find, okay, so my question is, because we discussed the project labor agreement as well as the
Right.
roads. So then, who said, no, we don't have this?
That came from the CFO, but I think it was that had to do with whether or not they, you know, I read the question is, do you have it in place to do it? I think the interpretation she had was, there's not an actual agreement that we've used.
So where would she get that interpretation?
I just think it's an interpretation of the question.
No, so when you say the interpretation that she had, I'm just trying to find out, is this something she says on her own, or does she go to staff to find out?
I don't know the answer to that question, sir.
Okay, because I mean, that was pretty alarming to me, and knowing the way I do, I would assume that we would be able to get an answer to that. So the number 12 we're talking about, so are we saying that that's going from no to yes?
Yes.
It will go from no to yes.
It's not going to be changed in the resolution tonight, but we
Right.
will, because this was already submitted and we have to have the vote, but we will note the corrections.
And then what were the other two?
Project labor was the other one that.
Project
No,
labor was
project labor we
already
just
mentioned, and then
discussed.
there was two involving IT, which was number 13 and number 18, which we do have a plan pursuant to the JIF, and also we are a member of the N.J.S.A.
Okay.
But on project labor again, when you say maybe that we have it, because we passed an ordinance for this, I remember Mayor and I recall this. The thing is that you say we don't necessarily do it every year, but there's sort of a limit of how much money is being spent on a project, I think, that triggers this.
It's $5 million.
Right. So that was something was asked of all by the labor unions, and we went along with it. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that we have it, and we abide by it, and we support it as a council, as a town. It's
Yes.
a big labor union issue.
Yeah,
So
my question was
Get
how do
that,
we get
get
it
that
out?
get that corrected right away.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, we'll certainly, again, not to beat it, but I'll just say, in seeing it very quickly, I noticed those ones are just inaccurate, so, but, okay, so, yes, Councilwoman
And
Price
perhaps
Abrams.
if there's agreement on 3 that we think the answers could be, we want to change the interpretation, I understand they were submitted, we will do this to make it timely, but then could you, after the fact, amend just for the record?
Yes, we can't officially amend it,
Okay.
but we will submit documentation that corrects it.
And we're not looking for a better score, because we're satisfied anyway that we
exactly.
met the threshold, but for the
Exactly.
purposes of
Right.
accuracy, et cetera.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, but can we just, Mr. LaPolla, can we just make sure, can we get something in writing that was done? No,
Sure. There'll be
no
a-
issue with you or
No,
anyone
no,
in the
there'll be-
town, quite
there'll
frankly,
be-
but I
there'll be-
want to see it to the mayor's
Yeah,
point.
there'll be
We're
a doc-
voting on
There'll be a
something.
letter or a memo that will be attached to it.
Okay.
So even for what'll be on public record here, I believe it goes to the clerk after the vote, and we will make sure there's an explanation attached there.
Thank you.
And same with to local government services.
Yeah, and the last piece, like I said, I just want to make sure that we've got something in place that it doesn't happen again, that whatever review processes or other pieces we're talking about,
Yeah. Yes,
The buck stops with you. You're like Harry Truman.
I'm well aware of that.
all right.
Counselor.
With that, Madam Clerk,
Counselor Cummings?
we're on
Resolution.
item B, Resolution R-23-252.
All right, so this is local government services, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
Yes?
Counselor Schlager absent. Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Next, we have a consent agenda, but first, I'd like to poll to make sure everyone's good with it. If everyone can poll item 10, please. There was 2 pieces. Mr. Deputy Mayor, you see on the calendar, there's the removal of the date that you'd noted, okay? Councilman Cummings, you'll see on it, there's the change of the date you noted. And the only other one, I hope that we have to consider, everyone had a chance to review, the only one that said another conflict is Councilwoman Price Abrams, and she's asking that we move the October 22nd meeting to October 29th. I don't have any objection to that. Can we make that move and then move this to?
2024?
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Deputy Mayor?
Really good by me
Okay.
of October
So with that, Madam
2024.
Clerk, did you hear that one, please? October 22nd, move to 29th, okay? All right, with that, I will put
No,
it
no,
back.
I would ask that we also take resolution number 5 out.
Well, hold on, I'm putting this one back
Consent
on
agenda.
consent agenda then, with that change.
Sure.
Madam Clerk, okay? So that goes on. Now, everyone does see the consent agenda items on there. Are there any items, I'm hearing one, to be pulled off
5.
consent? You want
I
5?
want to discuss that.
No, number 5.
5.
Any other items?
There's just one, I'm good with what we're doing, but I want, and I've spoken to Mr. Cole, that's the Clary Anderson.
Number
What we're
6.
doing there, but we had email exchanges. with
Yes.
our attorney, so I
Okay.
just want to make sure that we can follow up on that.
Okay. All right.
You want
So,
to pull
no,
that
he-
out
he
to
didn't-
discuss it?
On the record.
Okay, so with that, I'm moving items 1 through 13, pulling number 5.
I'll second it.
It's been,
Hold on 1 second. Okay, so, yeah.
yeah, yep, okay, 1 through 13, pulling number 5. No objection, Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll.
Counselor Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
Yes.
Counselor Schlager absent. Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Resolution R-23-272, which is a resolution authorizing the competitive grant contracting to procure police off-duty detail management system services, and I so move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, comments?
Okay, so that's the one I want to get clarified again, is, and maybe Roger, being a police expert, could clarify. We're changing the off-duty, we're giving you permission to contract with an outside vendor to do off-duty scheduling? Is that what this is?
I believe what it is.
Check that out, number 5.
It's to go out to bid again.
Yeah, the last time we did not do competitive bid for the vendor, but this time we are going to competitive bid.
But that's to do what? So the public understands to do, so we schedule the
It's for
police internally
police
right
off-duty
now.
detail management.
We don't
system.
schedule internally right now.
Yeah.
So anybody who uses our police office, uses police officers or needs police officers outside of regular duties has to go through a separate system
Right.
right now. They pay directly to that system. That
Yes.
system manages and facilitates the
Right.
assignment of those officers and handles all that work. That's what we do now. This is going out to bid to see if there's another vendor who can do that at a cheaper rate, obviously.
That's the
Exactly.
thing.
And that
Save
allows
us.
us to have options up to 5 years, which gets us a better price.
So this gives you the authority to do that?
Yes.
Go out to vendor.
Yes.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
No.
Counselor Schlager absent. Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Next is Resolution R-23-281, which is a resolution authorizing the competitive contracting for consulting services in connection with various professional services required by the Department of Planning and Community Development. I so move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, comments? Councilwoman Price Abrams?
Yeah, so I do see that the, our planner has just given the categories of, that she wants to solicit vendors for. So this is for the purpose of then seeing who will then be competitive, and then that's what we're doing. So
Right.
is this just done every year or something?
What's
I don't
that?
recall. Is this like typically done this way every year, or she's changing something?
On some of these, it'll give the option, we'll do shorter terms for some of them, but on some of them, it'll be for the whole options for the 5 years.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions?
yeah,
Councilman Cummings?
So last year, this council passed the Diversity Inclusion Program for contracts like this. So my first question would be, if you can look at the current list that we've contracted out and tell me how many of those are minority vendors.
Okay.
And then for this, the agreement was that we would have at least 20% of our contracts would go to minority vendors. So like to see that that is followed. And then if you need help finding minority vendors, please let me know, because one of the pushbacks from previous, I'm not going to name anything, was finding them. And so I know there are qualified minority vendors throughout the state. So let's make sure that we do our best to.
I did send you draft language that we're going to include in all bids and RFPs that
Right. Yeah, I read
notify
that.
people that we have the program available.
Right. But I'm more
As a
interested,
start.
as an example,
Sure.
currently, how many of them are minority vendors?
Any other questions, concerns, comments? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
I'm sorry, Mayor, I don't have a record of who was the movement in the second. This is
I
item
moved
14?
it.
Deputy Mayor.
Deputy
Hurlock,
Mayor.
We moved it.
Okay, thank you.
You want
Counselor
to-
Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
No.
Counselor Schlager? Absent. Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Next is Resolution R-23-282, which is a resolution authorizing the emergency purchase pursuant to N.J.S.A 40A:11-6 to replace the boiler in qualifying property per Montclair Home Improvement Program. I so move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, comments? Councilwoman Price Abrams?
Yeah, no, I was just glad to see that, where there's a resident who has this kind of a need that we have this program, what source, we have the home improvement program, how is that funded? How do we fund that pot? Does somebody know?
Mr. LaPola?
David, do you know?
I'm not sure.
Okay. No, I mean, it's not going to prevent me from approving this, I just, maybe.
Is this the 25,000 limit annual where folks have to qualify for these funds?
Well, it does seem to be pursuant to qualifying, but maybe you could just let us know when you pursue that, Mr. LaPola. I'm just curious how we fund this particular pot. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
Yes.
Counselor Schlager absent. Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Next is Resolution R-23-283, which is a resolution authorizing the award of non-fair open contract for Atlantic Uniform Company for the provision of township police uniforms. I so move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
Yes.
Counselor Schlager absent. Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Next is Resolution R-23-285, which is a resolution amending the contract for snow removal for parking, the Montclair Parking Utility. I so move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, comments?
Yeah, can we save money this year?
Depends on the weather.
We save it every year in the last 3.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
No.
Counselor Schlager absent. Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Next is Resolution R-23-286, which is a resolution authorizing the use of competitive contracting for the provision of consulting services in connection with the Township Professional Services as the parking utility, financial accounting, and payroll services. I so move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, comments?
Yeah, I just want to know, is this going to, what David was referring to, when we go out to all these places or bids are put out, we've got to pursue in an affirmative way minority vendors and women-owned companies. So will we do that with this, or is it just the one company that keeps applying and that's the only one we get?
I'm not aware of what they're, if they do anything, in terms of, going out and looking for minority businesses to bid on these contracts, but I could find that out for you, Counselor.
Because it should apply across the board. The reason I'm voting no on these things, I want to know if these contracts are going to be fairly, distributed. That we're the one town that would do this more than any other town. We've tried to be affirmative all these years, so I want to see us continue. But that's just my question.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Hurlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
No.
Counselor Schlager absent. Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Next is Resolution R-23-284, which is a resolution authorizing the executive session without the public being permitted to attend in accordance with N.J.S.A. 10:4-12B. I so move.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions. We'll now go into executive session. Thank you very much.
Mayor,
everybody.
before we go in, I just wanted to tell everybody that, yesterday was Robert Kennedy's birthday, but tomorrow is the November 22nd, 60th anniversary of President Kennedy's death. And there's going to be a ceremony tomorrow in Newark at the monument for President Kennedy. Assemblyman Giblin is holding that at the memorial statue in Washington Park in Newark to remember that President Kennedy was assassinated exactly 60 years ago. And we shouldn't forget those 4 days and try to remember that he was a great leader. Thank you.
Thank you all for
scared now. I'm
All right, with that, I'll make a motion to come out of executive session. It's moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. We're now back into regular session. First, I would like to move a resolution to appoint Roger Terry to the planning board. I so move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Thank you very much, and congratulations, sir. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you very much.
Did you ask Roz?
Next is a resolution authorizing the township to enter into the settlement agreement with the Mills Social Services Building. I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions, concerns, comments?
Just a comment, Mayor. This is a great thing because we're going to be able to use and work with those who own the building. It's a social service building, and it's been used by a lot of nonprofits for years. We had an office there when I was head of the Consumers League of New Jersey, and it was always very, reasonable rent. So social services, nonprofits will hopefully be able to use it again. And maybe it's going to offer us an opportunity to talk about a senior center, hopefully. Thank you.
Yep, and once again, this keeps all those protections locked in terms of usage, which is the goal.
For the library and others.
This is a resolution. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
We don't
It's
need,
unanimous.
we don't need
That
individual.
one's not spending money. But do I need to call that individual?
We don't need to do individual.
No.
It's a resolution, it's not spending money, right?
No money.
Okay. Next is a resolution by the Township of Montclair to obtain and from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs approximately $75,000 to carry out a project to purchase vital sets of turnout gear to adequately protect the Township of Montclair Department firefighters. So this is to accept those dollars, and I so move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Questions, concerns, comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Thank you very much. Accepted that. Next is a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of certificates of completion for the East Project and West Project of the redevelopment of Seymour Street Redevelopment Area pursuant to the terms and provisions of the redevelopment agreement between the Township of Montclair and the Wellmont Redevelopment LLC. I so move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. And for those listening, and I'm sure those interested parties listening in, we had the conversation around the busing. We have been assured that they did, in fact, comply and build bus parking for 2 buses in that location. And certainly, Mr. LaPole, I'm sure you will make sure that those are utilized there, and we have less of the traffic on Bloomfield Avenue. So, with that, it's moved and seconded. Any other questions, concerns, comments? This is this one. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Counselor Cummings?
No.
Deputy Mayor Herlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
No.
Counselor Schlager, absent. Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Next is an ordinance. This is an ordinance to repeal Chapter 18, Contracts, and amend Chapter 44-12 of the Township of Montclair, and I so move.
Second.
And this complies with the state law and the request from the state to remove any municipal laws that go beyond the state law. Correct, Mr. LaPole, right? It's moved and seconded. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Herlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
Yes.
Counselor Schlager, absent. Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. And next we have an ordinance to amend Chapter 48, Personnel Regulations, Article 1, 48-1 of the Code of the Township of Montclair. I so move. It's been moved and seconded. And again, this pulls out language in reference to various code and other pieces that do not exist any longer. Correct, Mr. LaPole? So that cleans that up. Any other questions, concerns, comments?
Read the title of this one again, sorry.
Ordinance amending Chapter 48 Personnel Regulations, Article 1, 48-1 of the Code of the Township of Montclair.
This relates to sick policy and such like that one. Okay. Right, and I wanted just to recognize what I had inquired about earlier. It relates to aligning it with the rest of the municipal code, and therefore it will, in time, save, resources to the town. Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns, comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Counselor Cummings?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Herlock?
Yes.
Counselor Price Abrams?
Yes.
Counselor Russo?
Yes.
Counselor Schlager, absent. Counselor Terry?
Yes.
Mayor Spiller?
Yes. Next, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. It's moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Have a great night,
Happy
everyone.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. I got my Thanksgiving tie on.